The other part of rituals is that rituals ground us and they create some order out of chaos.
Thank you for joining. Super exciting. Congratulations for the new launch of your book.
Thank you. I just got my first copy, the real copy in the mail.
I love it. That's awesome. So everyone's got to check out this book. There are so many fantastic insights in it. And if you want to get a sneak peek of what's happening, Erica's going to talk to you a little bit about that today. So Erica is a fantastic person. She's an absolute connector and tells amazing stories about this. But I want you to tell the story of how did rituals come about? Because I love really the origin of this.
Yeah. So I was sharing with Brian earlier today, I've always been a connector by nature. It's just sort of who I am. And I've worked in the human capital space for 20 plus years. And one day in 2010, I had this epiphany and found myself, this sort of dates me, but was walking around my house with a BlackBerry. Yes, I am. And was starting to see the impact that it was having on my life and on my relationships, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so I began studying the impact of technology on connection and relationships at work, and wrote a book called Bring Your Human to Work in 2018. And I didn't necessarily set out to write another book, but one day, and this is kind of fun. I have a friend, and every month we go to, sadly, we put it on hold right now, but we go to the same Italian restaurant and we have a glass of red wine and make a toast. And we were there one night, and it was one of those Italian restaurants where you could scribble on the table.
Oh, nice.
Talking about Bring Your Human to Work and the book and all of these different things. And it occurred to me that night in the middle of this ritual that rituals are a tool of a human workplace. And they're tools that all of us in our lives can use to connect more deeply with our family, our friends, our colleagues at work, and ourselves. And so that's how the book came about.
That's excellent. So we think about starting off the year, we always tend to go to like new habits or New Year's resolutions. So like what's the big difference between a habit and a ritual?
So there's a couple of differences. The first is a ritual is something that you can't imagine not having it as part of your life. Daily ritual. It could be a weekly, it could be monthly, it could be at work, something that you do quarterly. But the second piece of a ritual is even more interesting. It's something that goes beyond its practical purpose. And so one of the best ways to explain this is when we talk about lighting a candle. So if the lights were to go out in my apartment right now, which they actually could because we moved in this weekend, never go on here this weekend. If I were to light a candle here because the lights went out, that's not a ritual. I can't see, I need light. But if I light a candle at the end of every week to signify the end of the work week and the beginning of the weekend, that can become a ritual. There's almost an elevation, a higher level of meaning that is assigned to something like that. And when I was doing the research for the book, and sometimes people would say, I don't know if I have any rituals in my life or rituals at work. It took me a while, but I came to find a question that would best help me help people identify their rituals. And the question was, if it was a personal ritual, I would say to them, okay, Brian, what do you do in your life that makes you feel most like you? And from a company perspective, I would say, all right, ritual. Okay, Brian, do you have any rituals at Banfield? When do you think people at Banfield feel most like a Banfield employee or most Banfield? And that's when all of a sudden the ideas would start coming.
That's great. Well, we have some of those examples, and I know that there are times in which we do things and it kind of feels like a routine. But when you do some things, like you said, when it's almost like when you stop doing it or it signifies something else, it carries a whole nother level of meaning and purpose and importance. So we're gonna have thousands of our associates out. We want to make sure that they get to see this and be part of this conversation. And you talk with all of our leaders, so we're gonna really bring rituals to the workplace to life. So can you help me understand how do rituals help us as a person in our personal lives? Because too many times we always want to break away, like this is what I do at home and this is what I do at work, and we don't really intertwine the two. And what we've kind of found out through this pandemic is there's not really a stopping point of where we work and where we stop, et cetera. Everything's being just really blended together. So can you talk about the importance of how they work personally and carry over to professional?
Yeah, sure. So the first thing I want to share is, why should we care about rituals? I mean, what do they do for us in our lives? And as part of the research, I came up with something called the 3 Ps of rituals. And what rituals give us, again, whether it's at home or at work. So the first P is psychological safety. Rituals give us a sense of safety and belonging and a feeling that we're part of something. The second P is purpose. Rituals give us an amazing opportunity to connect to purpose, and we can talk more about that. And if you add those two together, that equals performance, that your stress goes down, your oxytocin goes up, your feel-good hormone, it impacts team performance. And since you led with the question on the personal side, what I can share with that is, when we were quarantining and we were up in Connecticut with my husband and my 3 kids and my dog Cruiser, who you can meet at the end, he's sitting right here. We started quarantining on a Thursday, and I'll never forget this. On Tuesday, my mom was really sick at the time and everybody was stressed. This was, we forget this now, but this was in the beginning where everybody was wiping down their groceries.
Right.
Like we've had so many phases of this pandemic. And even though my kids are 15 and 17, they're not little, but everyone was very freaked out. So on that first Tuesday, I said, you know what? We're going to have Taco Tuesday. That's our family. And we're going to do it. And that's what we're going to have for dinner. And I didn't give it that much thought at the time, but it was Tuesday and we were going to have Taco Tuesday. I am telling you, Brian, my kids walked into the kitchen and they could smell like the same smell that we had days, even though we were living in a different location. And there was this feeling of safety. There was this feeling of, you know what, I'm really scared right now, but I'm a part of this family and it's gonna be okay. And so it's important to think about right now at work and at home, how do we maintain rituals that we had before the pandemic, but maybe, we're also creating many new ones, and there's some real positive things that have come out of that as well.
That's a great example. By the way, I love Taco Tuesday. Yes, nothing wrong with that. That's fantastic. I think we should have Taco Tuesday and Taco Thursday, just to be clear. But that's a great example, and how that then creates, and done in your personal life, and then how that impacts the people that we deal with. And when you talk about it, you just see how you lit up about your family, and again, everything that we're going through. It's a way to say we're in this together still. That's powerful. So I love the 3 Ps: psychological safety, purpose, and performance. At Banfield, our purpose is to make a better world for pets. And it's not good enough that everyone believes in that. It's what we have to do is enable everyone to be able to do and act on their purpose, by creating the right conditions. So that's why culture is my top priority. So when you talk about psychological safety, in my opinion, to bring culture to life, we have to create a psychologically safe space. So that way we can truly have a 2-way dialogue with our people and understand what's working, what's not working, and then to create that ritual. So when you think about psychological safety, how could you, what advice do you have for our people to have and take so they can create a psychological safe space?
So the first, a big piece of that is, if you're leading a team, we'll start with it comes top down, it comes bottom up, and we all are an integral part of creating a psychologically safe place. But tone does start at the top, and you're an amazing example of that from a leadership perspective. To bring me in and say, this is, and I know you have other speakers, like, this is important, and this is a priority. From there, it goes down to that next level of leaders. And one piece of advice, if you're listening to this and you are leading a team, is if you can lead with your own vulnerability and to say, what happened to me this weekend, and I might be a little out of sorts on, today, Monday, or, all of a sudden, my kid's teacher is sick and my kid is home, whatever it is, or that you can share, Because I do think that there's this feeling that, oh, Brian's the president and, Erica is this going on. Oh, their lives are a certain way. No, we all are dealing with so much stuff right now. So the more you can bring that to life and to light, you are much more likely to have the people that work for you be willing to open up about what's going on in their lives. So that is where we all need to start. And from a bottom up perspective, not everybody's fully comfortable in this, but to sort of dip your toe in and to try to share a little bit more and see how that feels. I do think with the pandemic, we're looking into each other's homes and lives in a way that we never have. I mean, even before, when you and I were doing a meeting before this and my phone is ringing, I think a year ago, I literally crawled under the table and I would have died. But there is an opportunity now where people are more patient. Would they know? So why not use this and use this as a silver lining to say, people are more tolerant, and let me try to bring a little bit more of who I am in this moment. And you will see that it's good for you personally.
Right.
It's hard to draw that line. This is who I am at home. This is who I am at work. It's exhausting.
It is very exhausting. It's funny when you talk about the Zoom calls and like phone rings or whatever. Usually my cats will run through, and it's just hilarious when I have a call with someone outside that's not from Banfield or the pet industry. And if a dog barks, like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, oh no, hold on. So then I grab my cats and they're like, oh, this is great. I'm like, yeah, well, if we can't deal with that at a pet company, we have a lot of problems. So.
Oh my gosh. Oh, wait, Brian, I was going to laugh so hard. So I've been meaning to write this article, and if I do, I'm going to quote you in it. But on a call with this woman who shared with me that she was on a pitch, and so she was in hardcore sales mode, and her cat pooped in the middle of the Zoom. And so I was following up with her, and I said, well, here's the question, like, did you get the deal? She said yes. I'm like, that is the article. It's like, the poop that sealed the deal.
It sealed the deal.
Or something, but it made her more human in that moment and connected them in a personal way that would not have happened before this.
Absolutely. It's so funny. It's so funny, and it's so true, and it's powerful as well. So, gosh, so you talked. Okay, well, let me just ask a question. Like, what's your biggest ritual? Like, your most favorite ritual?
So my ritual, using the test of what is a ritual, would I miss it like crazy if it went away, and does it go beyond its purpose, is my morning. Every single morning I walk to my local Starbucks, and it's weird. Since we moved this weekend, I have a different one now. So that's a whole different thing.
Ooh.
But so why is that my ritual? Yes, I like the caffeine. Maybe there's some purpose around it. I actually don't need caffeine. The reason why I go there every day is it gives me an opportunity. I've never been a big meditator. It gives me an opportunity to get a few minutes to myself. I get the coffee, and I've always done this, but it only became a ritual in the last probably 5 or 7 years, even though I've been doing it for much longer than that. Because I used to go and get my coffee, and I would sit down in the Starbucks with I'm a big moleskin notebook person. So I'd have a notebook, very old school, I know. I'd have my to-do list, and I would be checking off my little boxes and feel full of, accomplishment by the end of my coffee. And then I said, wow, I didn't even taste it. And I really, really like my morning coffee. And so in that moment, I realized it wasn't a ritual. And now when I go, I sit, now I bring it home because you can't sit in there, but I take it and I feel the heat on my hands, take a few deep breaths, think about the day. And so there's no specific purpose around that, but there is this elevation and this assignment of meaning to those moments, and the other part of rituals is that rituals ground us and they create some order out of chaos. And that's a piece of what that ritual does for me as well.
I love it. I'm so thankful that you shared that. I wanted to ask that because I know about your Starbucks ritual. But what's most important is like these last couple of minutes when you talk about that. I mean, this is what I can't wait to go back and just watch it again, because you clearly hear the difference. Like, anyone who listened, you hear the difference between a habit and a ritual, and the purpose this really plays into your routine, which then is a catapult, since it starts, essentially starting your day into something so much more powerful. So really the call to action for all of our leaders that'll watch this is, you are responsible for your team, whether it's directly or as a peer of the team. And don't underestimate using your voice to talk about what is it that we're currently doing that may be working or may need to be modified, but how do we get the most out of spending our time together? So I'll ask you, Erica, in the book, you have a roadmap that anyone can use to really examine rituals and create an action plan. So would you like to talk a little bit about that one?
So the chapter is called Design Your Own Roadmap. And the idea is that there are many different opportunities for rituals. And so what I decided to do was I mapped it out in two ways. One is a day in the life. So for everybody in their lives, we could have rituals in the morning, over a meal, when we take breaks, rituals before we go to bed, rituals to transition, the end of the workday to our home day, which is really important right now. Some people have even creating rituals around their fake commute, because that's a ritual that, we don't love to sit in traffic or take the subway. But what people have realized with the loss of that ritual was that it was a time where they listened to their favorite podcast, or they did a few minutes of meditation. And so there's a personal roadmap, but from a work perspective, I also looked at the roadmap of an employee experience. So when you hire a new associate onto your team, what are your onboarding rituals? How do you give them a sense
Good question.
of psychological safety and belonging on that first day? Really, really important. Rituals around meetings. We're all in a lot of meetings. That's a huge opportunity to integrate rituals. Rituals around professional development, celebrating milestones. Maybe you celebrate birthdays or your pet's birthday, whatever that may be. And so that's the rituals roadmap. And, you don't have to jump in and design one at every stop on the roadmap. But what I recommend doing is getting together and saying, you know what, team, maybe we have some rituals and we don't even realize we've had them. All the people in a certain hospital, what makes us feel most like us in our day?
Mm-hmm.
And oh, this is what we do every Friday. Oh, well, maybe that is a ritual, and we're going to modify that, and we're going to elevate it, and we're actually going to make sure it happens.
So we do huddles in our hospitals every day, and we're going to have thousands of associates watch this. So the call to action is, how do you get the most out of that huddle? So it's not just a habit; it truly is a ritual that no one will want to miss, because it's going to create that incredible team dynamic even more. When you talked about the ritual, like for me, music is a huge ritual of mine, and I've always loved music, and I've always would listen to music. But it had taken a different role, I would say, during the pandemic, when I would think about not having that commute and not having the line of when I would work and stop working, kind of the transition. Because for me, it was like, if I left the office, I'm done. And it doesn't mean I wouldn't check email or whatever later on, but mentally I was clear and I moved on. And then during the pandemic, working from home was difficult because I didn't have that transition. And so I've used music as a ritual for me of, once I hear that song, it's that mental, it just clicks. And it's like, okay, I'm done working now. I'm done working. And it's that transition. And just psychologically, I just flow with the music, and it's all great. And it helps me. So that's been a great ritual.
You're going to share the song?
Oh, well, it's not necessarily any specific song.
Oh, okay.
I've got a list of just random stuff. So I just hit shuffle and just whatever comes on, but it's the sound that just is like the kick for me. It's like, all right, we're transitioning.
Back to what we were saying, that rituals, there's a sensory element to them.
Yeah.
The smell of the Taco Tuesday, the sound of the song, that, the feeling, the heat on my hands with the coffee, that there's some kind of shift. So I do think those huddles will be a huge opportunity, and it would be so cool to share across all of your different hospitals what people are doing. And you know, one of the things we didn't, you know, have time to talk about, but to make the rituals even more powerful, when people listening are thinking in their huddles, how can you integrate these rituals with your values in that moment, and to say, here's where we're living one of the Banfield values, or sharing those stories just creates a stickiness and really helps people connect with the brand and the purpose on an even deeper level.
I love that. And we have our 5 principles, and using those principles, part of our whatever the ritual is in the hospital, it can be very, very powerful. And I love the example that you shared about how people say, here's how you are living that value. And it really brings a level of personalization. And then it also allows for authenticity to come through, and then vulnerability as well. So that's fantastic. I absolutely love it. I could talk to you for hours. This is absolutely fantastic. So Banfield Associates, call to action. Actually, anyone who watches this, even whether you work for Banfield or not, doesn't matter. Question, what are you going to do with rituals? Check out Erica's book, Rituals Roadmap. Absolutely fantastic. So many nuggets, so many gems of wisdom in there. It's going to make you better personally and professionally, but it'll bring culture to life. And no matter your role, you're responsible for culture. The culture that you create impacts so many people, whether it's directly or indirectly. So if you're a multi-unit leader, you may only have 10 or 12 hospitals or 12 direct reports, but it impacts all of the other associates in those organizations. And of course, the clients, and in our case, the pets that we see. So speaking of pets, speaking of pets, hashtag ritual roadmap. We want to hear what you're doing around creating rituals. So let's blow this hashtag up. Is that the hashtag rituals roadmap?
Yes, it is.
Boom. Let's blow the hashtag up. Let's change the world. Let's use today to do that. And then now the star of the show, we got to hear from Cruiser. And there he is.
See him? Oh my God, he's like lying down now. Can you see him?
Yep.
Cruiser, come here. Come here. I don't know. I think he's very tired from his walk.
Cruiser is the star of our show. Here we go, buddy.
Cruiser.
I think he may be a little tired from the walk. That's
He
good.
is.
That's great.
I don't know. Now we're near the park now, so now he's, yeah. But
we got to find the right ritual for Cruiser now.
Exactly. We have a lot of Cruiser. Yeah, Cruiser has a lot of rituals. That's sure. Well, for having me, this was amazing. You know, what you do is so important, and you know, I appreciate it as a mom of a dog.
Yes.
And purposeful. And Happy New Year to you and to all your associates. And
Thank you.
Can come back to New York so I can see you in person.
Yes, I can't wait to the opportunity to come back and say hello, and I'll see you next time I'm in New York for sure. But Erica, thank you so much. Congratulations on the new book. Thank you for your time today. You made an absolute impact on anyone who listened to your message, and will listen to this message and then picks up your book. So thank you very much. Enjoy, and I'll talk to you soon. Be safe.
All right. Bye, Brian. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.